I'm back again. My name is Stephanie, and I've had a lot of people to ask me about raising chickens. Some of you know that I've had chickens my whole life. It's one of my hobbies. I love to get the farm fresh eggs, but a lot of people ask about them because they don't know how to get started with chickens. There's two different ways you can get started with chickens. You can start off with babies, which are really cheap, they're very inexpensive to start with, or you can start with a big chicken, which can be anywhere from $10 to $35 a chicken, depending on what type you get and how old the chicken is and from where you get the chicken. Baby chickens like this, I bought these at the Rankin County Co-op. They're 2 weeks old, and I paid $3 each for, there's two different types of chicks in this pen. I paid $3 each for one type of the chick, and then $5 for another type of chick because they're a little bit more rare. But I want to tell you how to get started if you want to go buy some baby chickens and grow them. This is a guinea pig cage that I ordered from Amazon, and it works great for starting chicks. As you can see, I'm in my garage. So if you're going to start baby chicks, you want to have them in a place where you can watch them and you can take care of them because they can die. What I have done to modify this cage is I added a cardboard barrier to the bottom because when you get a baby chick, if you get it from the co-op, usually those chicks are just a few days old. They're so tiny that they can get through, she tripped again. They're so tiny that they can get through the bars. So my daughters and I just added this cardboard barrier along the bottom just to keep the chicks from getting through and ending up all over the garage. The thing that I really like about this cage is it has a tray in the bottom that you can fill with shavings, and about every two to 3 days you need to change that out because it can have a chicken smell. So what we do is, this cage is on wheels. We roll it out of the garage, pull the tray out, dump it, and then put about an inch or two layer of fresh shavings in the bottom, and that way you can keep them in your garage and your husband won't get mad at you. When you get baby chicks and they're just a couple of days old, usually when they get them in from the co-op, or you can also get them at Tractor Supply, places like that, or you can get them from individuals, but they have not had anything to eat or drink yet because a day-old chick can survive I think it's 2 days without food or water by still living off the yolk sac from the egg. So when you order chicks or when you get them from the co-op, they're shipping them from these big hatcheries and they're immediately shipped as soon as they hatch. So they're hungry when they get here. So a trick that I will show y'all that is a lifesaver, that is a must, is this is a waterer. It's called a nipple drinker. You can get them in the form of a bucket or all types of things. I like this one because it's easy for me to take back and forth to the water faucet because it's small. Day-old chickens will immediately know how to use this drinker. They're attracted to the color red, so they will go up to this little thing and they'll peck it, and you see the water coming out? See the water? They'll peck it, they'll immediately start drinking water, and that keeps your pen clean. A lot of people I've seen, they buy these drinkers that have the ring on the bottom. Well, that gets yucky because they'll get over in the water. They can actually drown in that, and they use the bathroom in it, and you're constantly having to keep that clean. So this was $8. I think I saw a sticker on it, so it said $7.95 for this drinker, and it is, you've got to have one of these. Since I have so many in here, I have 2. Certain chickens will become more dominant even at that early age, and they will prevent the other chicks from being able to eat or drink. So that's why I like to have 2, so that if the dominant chicks are over here, the less dominant ones can still drink from the other drinker. So that's why I have 2. Another thing, and then I just hang it, and then you can adjust the height on this as they grow. You'll want to raise it because you don't want it down low. You want it up high where they have to reach to hit the nipple. So you'll start off low and you raise it up as they grow. Okay, I want to show y'all one thing that I've put into this pen is just a limb that I got out of the yard, a forked limb. And Tori, come a little closer and show them. When they begin to get a little older, it's just something that they can get on to walk up. See that one stretching his little wing right there? But they'll walk up the limb, and they also like to roost on that as they get older. That's just a bird or a chicken thing. Also, see this one down here under the light? That just shows you that that one was ready for some heat and it needed the warmth. So they can move back and forth as they need to and get under the light for heat. See that one going up the little limb right there? So they're 2 weeks old now. They're getting really independent, and they're ready to be moved out of this pen. So I'm going to catch this one and show you. Turn this way, Tori. This one is beginning to feather out, as we call it. When you first get the baby chicken, all they have on them is this little, come a little closer right here, this little fuzzy, furry, downy stuff right here. And as they begin to feather out, they'll begin to see their colors they're beginning to show. This chicken will be a black chicken with white spots. So she is beginning to get her wing feathers and her tail feathers. Another thing to tell about these chickens, these are called barred rocks. And the reason that I wanted to select these chickens is because they are a sex-linked chicken, which means that when I bought 20 babies, I know that all 20 babies will be hens. The reason that we know that is because they do what you call sexing them at the hatchery, which means that the females are born with a certain type of white dot on the top of their head that distinguishes them from the roosters. So some chickens, when you buy them as day-old babies, you don't know for a while if you've bought a hen or if you've bought a rooster. You have to wait until they begin to get their feathers, they get their comb, they get their tail feathers, so that you can see whether or not it's a hen or a rooster. So that's why I like buying these, because I bought 20 and I know that I got 20 hens. So a lot of people ask me, they say, well, do I have to have a rooster to get eggs? And the answer is no. Hens will lay almost an egg every day with or without the presence of a rooster. The only reason that you need a rooster is if you want the eggs to be fertile and if you want to hatch babies, or if you just like the way a rooster looks and you like the sound of a rooster crowing. I don't prefer having a rooster because they eat a lot and they will make your hens look ugly sometimes. Sometimes they can kind of abuse the hens a little bit or peck them a little bit and kind of remove some of their feathers. And I don't like to have to feed a rooster. I don't want to hatch any eggs. I like to just buy the babies. I have hatched eggs before, but I just like to buy the babies like this. So you don't have to have a rooster to have eggs. A lot of people ask me, they say, well, I live in a subdivision, so if I can't have chickens. Well, actually you can, because if you only have hens, most people will never even know that you have chickens at all, because hens are quiet. When you have them out in the yard, they're not going to stink or anything like that, and most people will never even know that you have them. Now, if you have a rooster will crow every morning, bright and early, and it can be very annoying to your neighbors. So if you live in a subdivision and you want chickens, just stick with about 4 to 6 hens, and nobody will ever even know that you have chickens. This is a baby chick starter cage. So these chicks are fine in here for about 2 weeks. And as you can see, and the reason I bought 20 was because I knew that that's about how many my pen would accommodate comfortably. And I'm not going to keep all 20. I just like to buy 20 because I've raised all 20 of these so far, but sometimes they can die. Sometimes they can get sick. They can drown in the water if you have a different type of water. The other chicks sometimes will kill them. Maybe a dog may get them. You just never know what can happen. So I usually buy 20 because I may lose a few. But I've raised all of these. I haven't had any problems. But what I usually do at the 2-week mark, these are ready to be transitioned to a larger pen. So what I'll do is I'll keep maybe 6, and then I'll sell the others, give them away, let my daughter sell them, whatever I decide to do with them. After that, I'm going to buy a new set this next week and have a new set of day-old baby chicks and do this process all over again. Let's see, anything else I wanted to say? Oh, one thing that you will also need when you have baby chicks, and you need to go ahead and have all this prepared when you bring your chicks home, because when you bring them home, you're immediately going to need to put them in your pen. So go ahead and have your pen prepared first. so that when you bring your chicks home from the co-op, and they will put them in a little carrier, a little cardboard box for you, so that when you bring them home, you can immediately put them in here. Oh, and I didn't talk about this. This is my little feeder, and you want to hang it, and you want to hang it high. You don't want to hang it low because you don't want them to get in it. You want to keep everything as clean as possible. So I got it on a little string so that I can raise it as they get taller. But you can buy this feed at the co-op, and it's called a chick starter. As they grow, you will need to transition to a different type of feed. But I want to talk about the heat lamp. When chicks are born in nature, they have a mama, and the mama will cover the babies with her wings to keep them warm when the temperature drops. Well, when you're raising the babies without the mama, you have to have a heat source. So I have a heat lamp that's in the corner of the pen, and that's important because they need to be able to get to the heat when they need the heat, or to move away from the heat when it's too warm. That's why I really like this long guinea pig cage, because I've got the heat lamp in the corner, and when the temperature drops early in the mornings or late in the evenings, they can move to the lamp and stay warm. But during the day, they can move away so that they can, if they don't need the heat. And sometimes if it's really warm during the day, I'll unplug the lamp. One thing you do have to kind of watch out for, and this has happened to me, you want to make sure that your heat lamp is reliable, that your plug is reliable. I have had a lamp one time to trip because it was a GFI plug, and the temperature dropped real low, and I got there the next morning and some of my babies had died because they got too cold. So make sure you have a reliable plug, a reliable lamp, and a new bulb when you put babies, because you don't want them to accidentally lose their heat source and then die. But what I'll do with these is transition these out to a bigger pen, and then I'll get new babies and I'll start the process over again. So it's really easy to start baby chicks, but you do need to have an appropriate pen to start them in, and then plans to transition them into something larger later. So go get you some chicks.